And now, Backstage Wife, the story of Mary Noble and what it means to be the wife of a famous star. Mary Noble has just hailed a passing taxicab and given the address of the New York Police Headquarters in Center Street. As she sits back on the seat, she digs her hand deep into her coat pocket and brings out a pair of long gloves. And she begins to examine them carefully.
If only this is the right pair. I know it's very much like those Claudia Vincent wore the night of the murder of Oliver Wilson, but it may be another pair. I think she'd have gotten rid of them if they were the ones she wore that night. Still, you never know. It's my only chance to save Larry. I've got to find out, even if I'm wrong. I've got to make sure. It's certain these have been worn. The palms are rough and quite dirty. If only they're the same gloves. If only I found the clue that will mean everything. I've got to keep calm. Larry, darling, if only this will help you in your trial for the murder of Oliver Wilson. If only I found the way to solve this awful murder and to prove your innocence. I've got to pray that... Oh!
Sorry, lady, I had to stop quick. You better sit back like it says in the cab. It's safer that way.
Oh, yes, I will. Thanks, driver.
Wouldn't want nothing to happen to you while you was a passenger in my cab.
No, I wouldn't want anything to happen to me. Not now. Not until after I find out.
You looking for something?
Yes, but I think perhaps I've located it.
You sure you're going to the right place? Police headquarters?
Yes, it's the right place, if my guess is correct.
Okay, lady, it's your money. Center Street it is.
And a short time later, Mary Noble is sitting across the desk from Inspector Ferguson of the Homicide Division. And we hear her say,
Inspector Ferguson, I've come to you with some new evidence in the Oliver Wilson murder case.
This is rather a surprise, Mrs. Noble. Your husband's trial for the murder of Wilson begins tomorrow.
Yes, I know. That's why I came directly to you.
Well, if you have new evidence, I should think you'd have talked it over with your husband's lawyer instead of coming to me.
I think you'll understand when I tell you what it is, Inspector.
All right, Mrs. Noble, go ahead. I'm always ready to listen to anything that sheds light on a crime committed in my district.
This is what I brought you. This pair of long white opera gloves.
Yes? What about them?
I believe this pair of gloves was worn by Claudia Vincent the night Oliver Wilson was murdered.
And if they were?
If they were, and you could detect traces of the rope used to hang Oliver, would that be important?
Oh, just a minute. Let's get this straight, Mrs. Noble.
I believe Claudia Vincent is guilty of Oliver Wilson's murder. And I know she wore a pair of long kid gloves, similar to these, if not this very pair. I wonder if your crime laboratory could check the palms and find out if there was any evidence to back up my belief.
You say this pair of gloves belongs to Claudia Vincent?
Yes, Inspector.
On what do you base the claim?
You can see inside the cuff. There are a good many cleaner's marks with her initials, CV. And I found them just a short while ago, among Claudia Vincent's effects. In the side pocket of one of her suitcases, to be exact.
And can you explain how you happened to be searching through Miss Vincent's personal apparel?
Yes. I went to the apartment where she's staying. The apartment of Lester Jordan, a close friend of my husband Larry's. Mr. Jordan's housekeeper let me in, and I searched through Claudia's things.
I suppose you know that you're admitting a charge of illegal entry.
The housekeeper knows me. My husband and I have visited there many times.
And she aided and abetted this search?
No, but she can prove that I was there, and that I searched through Claudia's things. Oh, don't you see, Inspector? I had to do something. I couldn't wait any longer. My husband comes to trial tomorrow.
I'll send these to the laboratory at once. But I warn you, Mrs. Noble, if you've made a mistake, you may find yourself in serious difficulty in case Miss Vincent wishes to prosecute.
That's a chance I'll have to take. Please have these gloves examined by your technicians. That's all I ask. I'm willing to risk anything just to make sure.
Very well. I'll send them at once and let you know the result.
How soon can I know?
Well, that's more or less up to the laboratory. However, I'll give word to proceed at once with the tests. I think I can safely say that within an hour I can have some kind of report.
May I see you in 1 hour, then?
If you wish.
I'll be here, Inspector Ferguson. In the meantime, I'm going to visit my husband at the city jail. It's a short distance from here.
Does he know about this?
No. You're the only one who knows, Inspector. I'm pinning all my hopes on the result of the laboratory test.
You're a brave woman, Mrs. Noble. I only hope your efforts are justified.
Thank you. In 1 hour, then.
Right. O'Connor, show Mrs. Noble out.
And a short time later, Mary Noble is facing her husband Larry for the last time before his trial in the visiting room at the jail. Only this time, Larry doesn't bother about appearances, and his greeting is cold and angry. And as the door closes, Larry says,
I'm glad you're here, Mary. want to tell you something.
Yes, dear.
What I want to tell you isn't going to be very pretty.
Oh?
I want you to keep out of this trial of mine from now on. Do you understand? I want you to stop meddling and stirring up trouble.
But, Larry...
Let me finish, Mary. I've had more than enough of your mischief. I know all about how you went to Lester Jordan's apartment without any warning and made a scene.
I take it Claudia Vincent has been here again, Larry.
Claudia Vincent is my best and most important witness, and I won't have you insulting her and trying to drive her away. What the devil do you think you're doing, anyhow? Are you trying to ruin my only chance of acquittal? Do you want me to be convicted?
Darling, how can you say such things?
It's quite easy, Mary. If you were in my position, you'd find it was simple enough. When your own wife is so unconcerned that she runs around flagrantly with the greatest woman chaser in the state, that ought to be enough. But on top of that, to have her turn on the strongest witness in my case and try to drive her off with insults and threats is really beyond the limit. What are you trying to do, Mary? Send me to the chair?
Larry, don't say that.
All right. And from now on, keep out of this. Don't say anything to anyone. Do just exactly as my lawyer instructs you. He's handling my defense, and he doesn't need you to tell him how to carry on. Do you understand? Have I made myself clear, Mary?
Yes, Larry.
Very well. Only hope you remember, because you've already caused more trouble than you can ever undo. All I want is to know that you'll keep quiet until this is over. After that, you can have your freedom, you can have any property I possess, you can have anything at all. And I hope you'll be satisfied. I hope your gallant Rupert Barlow will be worth the price you paid to get his attention. Are you listening to me?
Yes, Larry.
Then what about it? Are you willing to keep out of this or not?
I only want to help you.
Then do as I say, Mary. Just keep out of the picture till my lawyer asks for you. Don't talk to anybody. Don't say anything at all. And above all, don't mention Claudia Vincent to anybody. Don't even utter her name. Is that clear?
Yes, Larry.
Good. Then maybe there's still some chance. Although it's a wonder Claudia hasn't given up and left me to get along as best I can after the scenes you've made.
Has Claudia discussed the testimony she intends to give on the stand? Have you gone over it together carefully?
You just leave that to me and my lawyer. Don't concern yourself with Claudia Vincent's testimony. That's all taken care of. Just try to keep in the background till this is over. And it's the last thing I'll ever ask you to do.
Mary Noble gets up to leave. And for a minute her eyes meet Larry's as she pleads for his love. But his stare is cold and angry, and she turns toward the door and leaves without another word. And as she walks from the jail toward police headquarters and the inspector's office, she wonders...
It's hopeless. No matter what happens, Larry will never forgive me. I've probably blundered again by taking those gloves of Claudia's to Inspector Ferguson. Gloves will probably come back without a trace of proof that she wore them when she killed Oliver Wilson. What else have I to go on? Only the word of Victor, Rupert Barlow's chauffeur. The completely unscrupulous underworld character. And Victor wouldn't back me up anyhow. He told me so. It just made everything worse, that's all. And Larry is bound to find out. Someone will tell him that I forced my way into the apartment and rummaged through Claudia's things and took a pair of gloves to Inspector Ferguson, the man who's going to help prosecute Larry. And what will Larry say then? What would he think of me? Why didn't I just let him alone? Even when I found out how Claudia intended to testify at Larry's trial, how she meant to state that Larry didn't murder Oliver Wilson because he was locked in with her in her dressing room backstage at the theater at the time the crime was committed. Even that is better than the mess I've made. And now I've got to face Inspector Ferguson and hear him tell me there's no evidence to help my husband in his trial for murder.
Mary Noble walks slowly up the stone steps and into the building, hating to learn the truth and yet compelled to find out, knowing that she's playing a very slim lead and sure of disaster if she is wrong. Well, be sure to be listening Monday to Backstage Wife, the story of Mary Noble and her husband Larry Noble, famous Broadway star.